Steve Gamache here with another Chef Knives to Go quick look product review. And what we have this time is the Harukaze VG-10 Tsuchime Nakiri 165mm knife. So the way these are made is they've got multiple layers, and the hardcore cutting edge steel, which is kind of this bottom part here, you can see the layers making up the cladding, and then here's the core cutting edge steel. So that is VG-10 full stainless steel. Heat treats about 60 Rockwell on there, and they do a nice job on their VG-10 rendition for this maker. The construction has multiple layers of soft stainless cladding, and these multiple layers show up when the grind starts, when the knife starts getting ground down towards the edge. And you can see this is a fairly polished blade, so the lights are going to reflect a bit here. And then they've also got a Tsuchime or pebble or hammered pattern, kind of a semi-regular pattern into the side of the blade as well. So a lot of interesting aesthetics going on here. The weight and what that does is do give you an all stainless knife that's easy to maintain. The weight and dimension should be pretty similar from knife to knife, but you get some small variances. This particular one is 186 grams or 6.6 ounces. And the edge length, I count the edge on these, this style of blade, is pretty much from the back of the heel here to the usable portion of the tip up front here. And I'd say around 160 or so, about 6.3 inches or so of usable space here. Total length from the top here of the blade to the end of the handle is about 11.4 inches or 290 millimeters. And then these are fairly thin blades, but they're fairly stiff, especially the Nakiri, fairly stiff for their thickness. So this I got about 1.8, 1.85. It's a little, it changes as the dimples get close to the spine there, but that's about the thickness, and it pretty much just maintains that all the way down to the top end of the spine. The blade height is about 44.2 at the back, and I got about 45 about the middle, so it gains a little height towards the middle of the blade. Not a particularly tall rendition of this style of blade. The handle type is, they label it as rosewood. All these have had a very similar brownish color, a little bit more kind of walnutty color, but either way, the color has been very consistent across. This is the sixth knife I've done out of this set here at one time that Mark sent me, and so the consistency on the color is really quite high. Of course, another batch might be a little different, but this batch has been very consistent on color. The handles do have a full stainless tang all the way through, and 3 stainless rivets, and what's known as a pinned-on bolster. It does not flow. It's not an integrated bolster where it flows right into the blade, but it's what's called a pinned-on bolster. Fit and finish is nicely done on these. They don't have a ton of relief on the corners of the spine, but enough to make it comfortable, and then just enough on the choil here, the back of the blade, for the same thing. So for most people, they're probably ready to roll right out of the box. Out of the box edge, I'm giving them all a 5 out of 10. The edge is pretty nicely crafted, and it's pretty sharp, but it's not very high grit, so it's got a fairly coarse grit on the edge, and so these could get quite a bit sharper if you want to take the time, and if you're capable of putting a good edge on these. If you don't sharpen, you might want to spring for the Chef Knives to Go finish sharpening service, and you'll get to see how sharp this steel can get and what a good crafted edge looks like, and also how long the edge retention lasts, depending on your technique, of course, for a good quality edge. So those are 2 pretty good data points to have, and if you don't sharpen, it's a good reference point for you. The blades, as you can see, are pretty nice looking. Let me get a beauty shot here for our video. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. There we go. And so these have a nice look to them. You've got the random hammered, kind of semi-random hammered pattern, and then you got the layers showing as the knife gets ground down towards the edge. And then these do have a laser kanji on the right side of the blade as you'd be holding the knife using it. This is the right side. So it's not hand engraved, but it's laser engraved, but it's nice looking. And then here's the left side of the blade as you'd be holding it. So very nice looking knives. This is the 6th one I've done in this block here, and they've all been quite consistent in the fit and finish, the look, the edge, the fit and finish on the handles, and that's really good to see from a maker. So that's an excellent data point. Is all these knives have been quite consistent over 6, which is really good. So that's a great thing to see in a knife line. So you're more assured of getting something that is great right out of the box and doesn't have issues. So not that every knife is perfect, but this track record from the 6 I've had is really good sign. So let's see, balance point. So here's the balance point. It's going to be a little bit further back because the full tang handle is a little heavy. But there's your balance point right about there. So from a pinch grip, it's a little bit handle heavy. From a racket grip, it's a bit more neutral. So it just depends how you like to do that. Even though it's not a tall blade, the neck's not that wide where the handle and the bolster are. So you've still got pretty good clearance for your fingers on a board, unless your fingers are really big. So this should handle, a fairly wide range of hand sizes. No pun intended on the word handle there, but what the heck? Bada bing. All right, so here's our edge profile on the blade, and that just refers to the shape of the edge on the board. Nakiri knives should have a flatter edge profile in most cases than other types of knives, and this is pretty well the case. So we roll into a fairly flat middle section, and then it does have a little bit of a roll into the belly. So you roll into a nice middle section to chop with, and then it'll kind of roll into that. So you do have a little bit of a curve here, kind of a tip. It's not completely rounded, but you have a little bit of a tip there. But that means these actually rock pretty well. So you can get that edge up there, and you can rock these things really pretty darn well. This one has a little bit of belly towards the front, so it's very rock friendly. And it's also chop friendly towards the middle, kind of this portion of the blade. So pretty versatile, really. It's not, you would not want a Nakiri typically that's like dead flat, like pool table flat, because it'd be really hard to use. Because unless you hit straight down every time, if you hit a little this way or a little that way, you're going to bump the tip or the chin at the knife, the back of the blade, and it's just not fun to use. So you want a little bit of curvature to that edge, and this has a bit more than some, but it's pretty friendly. So this is a good kind of style. So if you're looking for something that's all stainless, easy to maintain, got a lot of nice aesthetic elements to it with a full Western full tang Western handle or yo handle, this is a great line of knives. So this is the Harukaze VG-10 Tsuchime Nakiri 165mm knife.